The people who have taken away our rights and taken power for themselves are not going to give it up. We are going to have to take it back.
We're back with a look at Democratic challenger Lucas Kunce, who's running for U.S. Senate in Missouri. Kunce grew up in Jefferson City. It was once the director of national security policy for the American Economic Liberties Project, a group with a mission to combat monopolies. This is Kunce's second U.S. Senate run in Missouri. He lost in the primaries 2 years ago. Kunce served 13 years in the U.S. Marines with a tour in Iraq and 2 tours in Afghanistan. He's in the Marine Corps Reserve now.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Lucas Kunce, and I approve this message.
In fact, you've no doubt heard more about his military experience this time around. Kunce has put ads on the airwaves mentioning his rank and touting his military experience. It is a noticeable change in a tight race, and it's where we start our conversation with the candidate today. I've noticed in this campaign run, we talked in 2022 before the primaries, that you've been using your military rank, Lieutenant Colonel, more in campaign ads than you did in 2022. You've also publicly announced some support of former President Trump's policies, IVF policy being one of those. Why is that this time around?
Well, you know, it's never been about left-right for me. It's been about taking care of places like the neighborhood I grew up in. It's why I joined the Marine Corps, and I think it's important that people understand that with me, they're getting someone who has a record of service. For me, it was in the military. And, you know, I grew up in this working-class neighborhood in mid-Missouri, and it was an incredible place. You know, my parents were paycheck to paycheck. They had 4 kids. And, you know, at one point we went bankrupt because my little sister had to have these heart surgeries, and it's really hard on a family when you're paycheck to paycheck and something like that comes along. And you know, the reason we made it through that time is because the people in that neighborhood, they passed the plate at my mom's prayer group for us. They brought more food by the house than we could eat and really took care of us. So I spent my entire life trying to pay that back, and that's who I want to, you know, take care of in the U.S. Senate.
To Democratic voters who vote Democratic every single time, who say, my candidate is aligning more with former President Trump, that could be troubling to them. What do you say to them?
Well, I don't think it's more or less. You know, what I would say is I take no money from corporate PACs. I take no money from federal lobbyists. I take no money from big pharma executives. Like, the only people I will ever owe are everyday Missourians like those in my old neighborhood who took care of me when I was a kid. And so for me, that's what it's about. It's about bringing money back to this state. I actually admire our former Senator Roy Blunt. You know, he brought about $300 million back to this state every single year his last few years in office, and it's a tragedy for me that Josh Hawley brings $0 back to this state every year in directed spending, and it's like, we can't afford 6 more years of that. Places like my old neighborhood are completely falling apart.
You mentioned struggling neighborhoods. The economy is certainly top of mind right now. In polls, it's the #1 issue for Missouri voters. How do you plan to tackle higher prices, especially at the grocery store?
It should be a top issue. I mean, I'm telling you, like, we have monopolists running the grocery markets. We have monopolists running our agricultural industries. And what they do is they take the wealth from our land here in Missouri, they suck it up and out, they don't leave any wealth here in the state, they give it to their shareholders, and then they gouge us, you know, at the store. They violate Packers and Stockyards Act, many antitrust laws. I think we need to enforce our antitrust laws. We need to aggressively enforce them. We need to break up these big companies that are essentially like have more power than the government in many situations, have more power than the people, so that we have competition in the marketplace again and we have a free economy.
The back and forth between you and your Republican opponent, Senator Josh Hawley, has been especially heated, you could say notable. You know, he's tried to take you to task over your opposition, that you've written essays on dependence on foreign oil and fossil fuels, working to say that somehow that makes you anti-farming. I'd like you to address that if you could.
Well, I mean, it's just a ridiculous stretch, right? What I want to do is make sure, you know, right now our energy is controlled by a cartel led by the Saudis, the Russians, and Venezuelans, and, you know, all these foreign entities. And so for me, like, I think we need to invest in the next generation of energy and manufacturing right here in the Midwest. I have a Marshall Plan for the Midwest to do that, to put us ahead in the next generation of energy, because my biggest worry is that in 50 years, instead of being reliant on the Saudis for you know, our energy, we're going to be relying on China because they're getting ahead in these investments.
Moving from fossil fuels and foreign oil potentially would involve some sort of setup to help these farmers out, because, I mean, you have old tractors and rigs that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. How would you help them transition to this new energy age that you want?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about is in 50, 70 years, I want us to have moved on. By then, the technology, if we invest in it here in America and we build it out here, they're going to have great technology and everything's going to work fine. I mean, again, he's lying and he's making stuff up because he doesn't have anything else. He also said I'd take away everybody's pickup truck keys on like day one in office, right? Like, that's crazy. I'm endorsed by the auto workers. I'm actually going to the UAW right after this, the people who make the F-150 right here in Missouri, right? It's just, you know, the guy doesn't have anything to run on, so he's just making stuff up.
Let's talk about immigration. You have called the situation on the southern border a train wreck in a recent debate.
Yep.
You've said in your ads that you would secure the border, and you say no matter who is the president. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I will work with any president to secure the border. And so, you know, when I graduated from school and I was looking for a way to pay back everybody who took care of my family as a kid, some of the guys who took care of me were veterans. You know, I really just admired them, so I became a U.S. Marine. And my first deployment was to Iraq. I led a police training team there, but before I was going to lead the police training team, I was scheduled to lead a border team. And so I have been to the southern border. I trained with the Border Patrol at the southern border as a U.S. Marine. I was certified by the Border Patrol Tactical Unit, and it's really sad to me to see Josh Hawley not want to solve this problem because he wants to keep it as a campaign issue. Like, the border is a train wreck, and there are simple solutions. In catch and release, stop the flow of fentanyl. Fentanyl's the #1 killer of people 44 and under right here in Missouri, and fully fund and equip Border Patrol. Josh Hawley's had multiple times that he's been able to do that, and he has said it's not his job. You know, in 2019, he voted against Roy Blunt's bill that Donald Trump signed to secure the border. A few years later, he voted against fentanyl scanner funding at the border, and then he voted against the recent bipartisan bill that the Border Patrol guys I trained with endorsed and supported because it was going to fully fund and equip them. It's just, you know, I'm a Marine. When I see a problem, I solve it and then move on to the next one. He wants to keep these problems, doesn't care about our safety because he wants it as a campaign issue.
Do you support amnesty for people who have come over the border illegally?
No, and you know,
what's your alternative?
Well, I mean, I think what we need to do is we need to find a path to citizenship for people like the Dreamers, you know, folks who were brought here as kids. I think people should be able to, you know, go through a background check, and as long as they clear that, they should be able to get citizenship. But it's not some sort of blanket amnesty. I mean, I think what we really need to do is, again, we need to fully fund and equip Border Patrol. We need to have more judges in immigration courts so that we can process this backlog and figure things out.